day for a vessel overturned, I think happened right around 9:15.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish on Northwest. Hopefully you've taken a step away from the old Hawks game to tune in and check out what we going on. Dwayne England, the Barnum, back in the house. You're heading east.
I am, right after this.
Right after this, you're on the road blowing out of here. Go check your game cams.
Yeah, I want to check my game cams. I'm gonna check my food plots. I haven't seen those since I planted them.
Oh,
the
you
weather.
got some rain over there.
Yeah, we got the rain, but then we got that cold snap, which is really going to put a hamper on growing things.
Right, right.
I'm interested to see how those turned out. Yeah, busy weekend, hanging stands, setting ground blinds. I mean, getting ready for deer season.
We're about there. I mean, it reopens here for Modern Rifle October 12th, right? So I get pretty busy with the tree stand this year is my approach and see what we can get going on.
You're way ahead of the game from where I'm at.
Oh, is that right?
I'm so far behind this year.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it pans out. Hoping to finally get a blacktail with my bow. So David over there in IT Corner getting it done for us each and every week as he does, and looking dapper in that Jingle Jig hoodie. If you want one of those, let us know. We can connect you with that. Chef Kelly is still over way up north killing birds. So
for a while yet.
Pre-record on the cooking segment, which is a great one. I think I have it here somewhere. I don't know what it is. What did I put down there today?
Garlic salmon.
Oh, garlic salmon. It is salmon season. Got a lot of it in the freezer as of late. Things have been going pretty good, actually. Garlic salmon with Chef Kelly and Sherry in the kitchen later for the recipe of the week, and it's a good one. Simple and unbelievable, full of flavor, something you definitely want to try. Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate, located in Puyallup, Washington, each and every week. With that, Barnum, tons going on around the Pacific Northwest, Puget Sound and beyond. There was a interesting bit of information that came out this last week. I put it out there on our Facebook page.
Right.
It's not new news. You and I, as we walk down the line of predation of all facets, and there's a ton of it.
I tell you what, nothing that involves predation is new news anymore because we cover it almost every single
week. If you're still hiding under the predation rock, get your head out and come up for air because it's constant. This time it's relevant to birds, right? Terns and well, it doesn't mention mergansers in here, but the cormorants, you know, it's an ongoing, long-standing problem. This article that came out as of late is referencing a study that's been going on for 11 years.
Yeah.
We're talking about a section of the Lower Columbia out there by Rice Island. You have Rice Island, Sand Island. Those are man-made islands based on dredging for ship canal, right? So as they move ships and barges up the Columbia River, that lower estuary where all those salmon and steelhead end up in that lower waters of the Columbia, just that one area of impact that they got all these numbers to, I was really surprised to find that they're talking about a specific area that has an impact of 19%.
It's unbelievable.
On the salmon and steelhead smolt outbounding of the Columbia, which is to the tune of 25 million. 25
million fish.
Right? So, and they've done some things down there. They've taken the Sand Island luxury living of those birds and nesting, and they recognize how easy it is for them to just basically feeding frenzy on all them smolt. And they've done some things that have moved them to Sand Island for a while anyway, which you're like, well, they just moved them downriver. Well, there's a reason for that. That lower estuary water has much more forage fish that those birds could find to feed on, not then impacting the downriver or the outbounding salmon steelhead smolt, right? Forage fish being like your anchovy and your herring and stuff that come in on those ties.
Right.
So they're down there doing that. Then they also had the year a couple years ago where they put in a lot of work and effort and money, and they were oiling the nesting of these birds. They would put oil on the eggs, which basically kills the egg off. The benefit there versus, we had a discussion, well, just go walk around and smash them all. Well, if you're in that mid-spring time frame, mothers or hens lose their eggs, they just lay more. They get fertilized, they lay more, and so you haven't really solved the problem. They ended up eliminating between 5,000 and 7,000 hatchlings that would have came out over those couple years of that project going on. But I look at all this information, 11 years, we're talking about bird predation. We've been talking bird predation. There's been stickers out with cormorants in a red slash room for years. It's been recognized as a problem. Other things that a noteworthy interest through this article, they've recognized 14 colonies of birds throughout the greater Columbia River.
Right, and you're just talking about one small area. You're not talking, I mean, and growing up on the Willapa, I mean, we've seen it there. So, I mean, this is happening on coastal rivers, coastal estuaries, all up and down Washington, Oregon.
Main rivers and tributaries amongst Puget Sound, right? They line up on the Puyallup River down there. And so we all know, or if you don't, you do now, that, smolt are pretty much surface swimmers. Right. They're easy pickings, especially in water that runs a little clearer than most. So when you recognize you have 14 bird colonies that are strewn throughout down the Columbia River, that those smolt that they referred to up there at the confluence of the Snake River and the Columbia. Huge problematic area. Lots of smolt being decimated in that region. They never even make it down to here. Now, look at the fish returns we're dealing with up there. They've closed the Clearwater to catch and release steelhead, and of course, October 15th, it will not open for retention this year. The largest steelhead hatchery, as we mentioned the past several weeks here, as we got word of this pending closure, Dorschwick, that largest hatchery in the world, steelhead hatchery in the world. We got buddies coming on later on the show here for Mancation that you're getting exposed to.
There has to be, and I'm sure it's happening, but there has to be, hopefully there is already a lot of pushback from Idaho Fish and Game to Washington saying, you guys got to figure this out. Something. Like, this is getting ridiculous. We're getting zero return. Our fish have to travel through your waters, and they're just getting decimated in your waters, and you guys aren't doing barely anything to stop it.
Well, we're doing studies. We're studying
But let's talk about that number there, 25 million smolt. That would be an extra 200, at a 1% return.
Yeah, 250,000.
Yeah, an extra 250,000 salmon returning to the Columbia River. I mean, that's a huge number. There's years where the whole Chinook run in the last few years has barely been that big.
Now we have favorable conditions, and we bumped that to a 3% return. We're talking about 750,000 fish.
I mean,
those are big numbers.
Huge numbers. I mean, so think about what we have this year for Chinook. Let's say we had, I didn't even look at the 500,000 or something like that, maybe less than that. Add, let's say half of those are Chinook. Add another 325 to 400,000 Chinook on top of the numbers we've had.
Game changer. Upriver Bright numbers would go through the roof if they get control of this predation all the way up to the Idaho side of things, right?
And I think this is just more evidence, and I think that's a lot of what's going on with fish runs. I mean, we've talked about bad ocean conditions. We've talked about all this thing. I think what we're finally seeing is the realization of how bad our predation problems really are.
Multiple predation
Inbound
problems,
and outbound. Doesn't matter. If you're a salmon, your odds of getting back to your spawning beds in the Columbia River or any of the Washington and Oregon tributaries are slim to none with the gauntlet of predators that you have to get through.
The interesting thing is they go on to say in this research, in this study that they've put together, that they recognize that upwards of 3,500 pair of these cormorants and loons are nesting now in the substructure to the Astoria-Megler Bridge. So now they got an issue where these birds aren't even now down in the sand where they should be.
Here's my guess, probably because there's no room for them in the sand because they're overpopulated, so they're finding other places to nest.
They have a number. And this is where it culminates for me. They have a number that they've recognized to say this is a reasonable population in the lower estuary waters of the Columbia that we can manage. In other words, they look at this 31, 25, whatever it is, and say this is a manageable number. So how do we get there, right? I'm pro advocate to say, we got a lot of people that buy waterfowl licenses every year. And if we have our recognized limit of 7 birds, how about we tattoo on 2 or 3 more of those types of birds, either cormorants, loons, or terns, or whatever they are, not loons, terns, or mergansers, depending where you're at. Although there is some federal regulations and protections on some of these birds. I get it, right? So don't blow up our messages with that. We get that. That being said, you as an agency trying to develop a management plan to get these numbers under control and not having to spend an exorbitant amount of money to put plans in motion can simply tack that on to the recreational folks who help manage your hunting and fisheries, by the way. Right? So we have a little more lucrative bag limit. Now, if you want to eat a merganser, that's up to you. But I'm just looking at a way of systematic removal that they can gauge the numbers, because at the end of the year, you fill out your information, submit it as if you're proactive in working towards conservation, you turn in your information to help WDFW more successfully manage our hunting and fishing, right? So we bounce that limit, and next thing you know, they look at it, they go, oh, we actually are at a pretty good balance here. We know what the brood is for this next year. We know what the hatch out is, survivability, and we need 5,000 of these birds removed. So next year going into 2021, we're going to keep that bonus limit going. Or, no, we've kind of dipped below the threshold. We got to make sure there's enough to survive. So we're going to pull that limit off this year. You're back to your 7. Whatever it is. There's got to be a way.
They've been doing this study for 11 years. They're obviously going out and counting nets. So, that's a very proactive way that they could see after a year of harvest from hunters, or however they want to do a harvest, to come back the next spring and go, well, wow, we reduced the number of nests on these islands by 15%. Boom. And you can see a direct correlation.
I am glad that they're continuing to do the research. Now I want to see some action. It's just like the pinnipeds. It took a long time to get there. It took federal mandates. It took President Trump signing the declaration. It took a lot of moving parts. But at the end of the day, we saw the end results when they removed 13 California sea lions from the Willamette Falls. A dramatic turnaround within short order. So, the research is great. Barnum and I, we want to see action. We want to see a plan put in motion that doesn't break the bank for WDFW because they got no money. So put it on the shoulders of us. Let us help you out. Okay?
Yeah, you guys answer back in the comments. How many of you guys, if they opened up the cormorant hunt, let's say they created an area in that Rice Island, Sand Island area and said, hey, in this general area here, you have a 2 duck limit. How many of you guys would go out and take part in a hunt like that? Hit us up and let us know how many of you guys would do that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, moving on, a little bit of news out this week, my friend, relative to wolf management in our beloved governor of this state. Governor Inslee came out, fired off a letter to WDFW directing Director Suswin and staff to cease and desist in basically killing wolves. Tired of wolf killing, as there is an outcry from a lot of folks, depending which side of the fence you ride, that you want to no longer see the wolves being terminated. Well, it is part of the management plan. It's the end result. We've gone over this. There is criteria. Correct me if I'm wrong. There is a process in place, put in place by who?
By Fish and Wildlife.
And by the Wolf Committee.
Like the Wolf Advisory Group. Let's go down the line here. So the governor elects members of the Fish and Wildlife Commission. I think it's a 9-member commission.
He appoints them.
He appoints them. And that's not voted on by people, that he appoints them. And then that commission is, for most part, what dictates fishing regulation, hunting regulation change, all that stuff, and passes that information to the agency. So this commission and the agency have agreed on a wolf management plan. There is also a wolf advisory group, which is hunters, ranchers, concerned citizens. I don't remember how many members are in that group, but that group is put together to mediate these things. So when conflict comes up, it goes to that group. They discuss it. They come up with a plan, which is all written within the wolf advisory plan. What avenue do we want to follow? And then those actions are taken on whatever's decided by that committee. And now the governor, who is one of the biggest proponents on TV, saying, science, we have to follow science. We have to, you cannot deny science. You cannot deny science. Is again, just like he did with the increased cougar numbers 2 or 3 years ago when the whole Cecil the lion thing was going on. And the state said, hey, we have a predation problem with cougars. We need to increase bag limits or increase quotas in some of these GMUs. The governor came out and said, no, we can't increase limits. We can't allow more cougars to be killed because of, what? Emotion. And so now you have big outcry from the, the wolf lovers, for lack of the guys that love the wolf.
And out of state.
And out of state.
We'll get to
and
that.
from all over the country. We'll get into that in a minute. And what's he do? He comes out and basically ignore the science our own Fish and Wildlife agencies put out, ignore the wolf advisory group, ignore the wolf management plan, and just go on emotion. Don't shoot him. Don't kill him. Don't do nothing.
It's strictly emotion and politically based.
Yes.
He's taken cues from organizations all the way over in D.C.
Yep.
that have no interest in truly how things are managed here, or understand the fight that they've been up against over here. You know, the fact that, as you're saying, they just throw everything out the window and base it off emotion, and who is ever lining the political coffers of your next idea of where you're going to go work. You know, I just look at it as a means of answering to those that you think is going to sign you a paycheck in the future. Right. It has nothing to do with the experts in the field and those who are paid to make decisions on how this is managed.
The boots on the ground.
Barnum, you and I are not like pro kill every wolf. No. We have never said that. Nope. But we believe in following the program that has been laid and put in motion and that they've been adhering to. And we have a situation where there's a reoccurring problem. When a pack moves into a certain area, the behavior pattern is repeated, albeit a completely different pack, but guess what? They're wolves. Right. And there's livestock. And there's an area that they both want to occupy. Now, if you read through this letter from our governor, it basically alludes to things like he has asked WDFW to work more closely with U.S. Forest Service to work to reduce such conflicts with wolves, including changes in the allotment policies for public lands that are prime wolf habitat. Right. Now, you go on in the letter further to read, and he says, I'm not advocating, you know, to stop allowing grazing on public land. Right. But right here, you're mixing your words and basically, first of all, recognizing it now as wolf habitat, which were reintroduced. And I'm not saying
now it's no longer grazing land. Now it's wolf habitat.
And it's been federal grazing land for however since the 1930s when the wolves were, you know, taken out of there. Right. So you can't go mixing the words like that. The writing's in the letter that, no, you're recognizing it as wolf habitat, and basically you're telling the U.S. Forest Service to find another area to put the ranchers. Right. You're basically saying, I'm tired of the conflict, I'm tired of you killing wolves, and so the cows got to go. Right. Maybe there's a resolution somewhere in that. Other persons outside the state have gone on record to say, well, we've looked at the terrain and, you know, it seems like steep terrain and not very good grazing ground. Well, it's been grazing land since the 40s, so...
Right, and these ranchers have been doing it successfully forever. Yes. So, I mean, if it wasn't good grazing land and they weren't turning profitable cattle off of it because of the free market, you know, believe it or not, we still have free market, they wouldn't be raising cattle on it.
You know, and you and I have mentioned it before for, you know, the soccer moms as we refer to in Seattle that are, you know, oh my God, they're killing wolves. And it's public land. Those ranchers have no business being there. You don't understand how big this thing is and how long standing it's been in place.
And it's funny that he's asking Fish and Wildlife to work more closely with Forest Service, because we've seen all across the West where that's been a major concern from ranchers, that the Forest Service has been trying to drive ranchers off of public land, try to stop the grazing allotments. We saw what happened, you know, with the Bundys down there and how that all went down. But I mean, so it's funny to see that. But this is just, I mean, this is a governor that's running for re-election that, I mean, unfortunately, it seems like the Democratic Party at this point, and our governor being no different, just wants to pander to extremists. He wants to play the emotion card and pander to the extremists to try to grab that vote.
Representative Joel Kretz, Republican, who we hope to have on the show here at some point down the road, when he's back over here on the West Side in legislative session. Hopefully we can get him in here to talk about the efforts that he's put in, what he sees is truly going on in his backyard. He went on record to say, I think it's people from hundreds of miles away throwing grenades. Yeah. And he's right. You know, he invited Governor Inslee along with staff, and to their credit, you know, Brian Blake and a handful of other representatives and senators, they went and toured that particular area of the country to truly grasp what's going on over there. Inslee didn't have time because he was too busy campaigning for president. Right. So when that was going on, so he didn't make the field trip. But that being said, he certainly could do Joel Kretz a favor and go over there and meet with him and walk in his shoes over in that part of the region. Right. So there are other people. Mitch Friedman, who's the executive director for Conservation Northwest, which You and I, we align ourselves with Conservation Northwest. We had, Chase Gunnell in here. We think they're doing fantastic work, and a lot of things they're doing, tons of work they're doing. And I get it. It's about conservation, properly managing our wolves, and making sure we find common ground. Right. And I truly believe that's what WDFW is trying to do.
Yeah.
What we don't need is a governor stepping in who does not direct or tell the director of WDFW and WDFW how to conduct business. Right. The commission directs the director on how to conduct business.
Right.
If they got an issue with Director Suswin, they have that meeting. The governor, basically, that's not his area. The commission reports to the governor.
Right.
So there's a rank and file there that Governor Inslee just felt he would, throw that letter to the wind. And I'm going to tell you guys to quit killing wolves. We are not advocating let's just keep killing wolves. We also want to see them find a resolution.
Right.
That being said, Julia Smith, who is the recognized WDFW wolf expert, tentatively we're scheduled for next Thursday. Not just because of this letter. We've been working on this for quite some time.
We have.
We're not going to be able to get the ungulate specialist in here with us. We're not going to be able to get the person who oversees and understands the conflict resolution between ranchers and the wolves and like how much money's paid out to ranchers and that whole deal. Those persons on staff are not available. Last I checked in email correspondence, Julia is available. Hopefully she's not going to pull back just because of this letter.
Right.
I fired off an email again today, and I'm hoping to hear back from her.
Right.
We're really hoping that she makes it in studio next week. We've been in contact with Tom Ryle, who's in marketing, and trying to make this whole thing work. This is an opportunity for WDFW to bring their wolf expert in here with us, helping educate the public on the basis of the plan, why it was established, who handed it out, where the money's come from, and is it successful or not? What changes are they working toward? All those things that we keep beating up on.
Yes.
We're not the experts, Barnum. We just keep reading up on this.
No, but and that's the whole thing we've said from the standpoint is you came out when this whole thing started and you created a management plan.
Yeah.
Stick to the management plan. Stick to the plan or use good, solid base science to make adjustments to the plan.
Yep.
Don't just use emotional knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly.
So that's why the vote matters. If you guys are hunting fish and you're not out voting for governor, voting for your congressman, voting for your senators, this is why it matters.
Absolutely.
If you hunt and fish, you need to really look into who you vote for and make your vote count.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, we got Mark on? Real soon? Oh, I guess I never pointed to you. So, little change from, I had posted, Barnum, earlier this week, derelict nets throughout Puget Sound. Hillary Franz, our state commissioner of public lands, has been working with the Army. This is an interesting story. It's a 5-minute video I posted up on our Facebook page. I would advise folks to take 5 minutes and watch it because it's really a cool culmination of two entities needing something. Okay, the Army divers need their training. They need to be combat ready. They need to go in the deep, cold water dives. The state has recognized upwards of 5,600 derelict nets throughout Puget Sound. They have them mapped. They've located them. They know where they're at. They can work with the Army divers, these deep divers, and they can send them down off of this big operation, barge and ship, and they go out there for their training. All the while, they hook into these nets and they hoist them up. They did training for 17 days. They yarded out upwards of 1,500 pounds of nets.
Wow.
And this was the first go-around. The cool thing here is you're using an entity such as the United States Army divers who need their training. And we have a need in Puget Sound for conservation, for the betterment of all, sea life, and stop killing needlessly sea life and those types of things out there by removing these nets. And I would say 1,500 pounds is a pretty good dent, pretty good start, but there's still a lot more work to be done. Hopefully, Hillary and her office at DNR, they're able to continue to move forward with this. I thought it was a great story. It's compelling. Getting two things done at once, basically.
Right. That's the thing to remember, that nets never quit killing.
They never quit killing.
Never.
They actually, interesting note too. So there was something as simple as a monofilament gill net. It wasn't very large overall, like size and weight-wise. But I found it interesting that in the 5-minute piece, as they pull it up and they're talking about this, the guy actually says, we had marked this net 10 years ago.
Wow.
And it took that long to get this project in motion and make something happen to where they go and retrieve this net. That net was marked 10 years ago, and they pulled it out. Guess how much of that monofilament was broken down?
Probably none of it.
Yeah. I mean, it was killing for 10 years plus.
Right.
And a lot of these larger nets are from way back at the turn of the large commercial fishing operations,
right,
as they were in Puget Sound with the canneries and the big push in the 40s and 50s. Those things have been out there for decades.
Wow.
Time to start getting rid of them. So, speaking of Puget Sound, this is kind of our segue, a little sidestep from the normal that I had put in our previous show notes here. Right. Mark Baltzell, Puget Sound salmon manager, got a hold of me earlier today and said, hey, I'm available to talk Puget Sound. And if you remember last week, or a couple times in the last week, we've mentioned that we've gone from what looked to be or appeared to be a pretty lucrative 2-bag limit, on our coho, great coho returns throughout, most of it was Columbia River based, million coho coming back. Yeah. Then I reduced it to 600,000. Still, we're supposed to have a pretty decent return to Puget Sound. Not like earth-shattering, record-breaking, but, above average, I would say, was the projection. And we've had to scale that back. A lot of questions have been asked as to why, what's going on. Mark is a man with his thumb on the pulse as he manages and oversees the salmon management of Puget Sound, both commercial and recreational. Mark, thanks for taking the time jumping on the phone this evening.
Not a problem, Dwayne. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so let's just start real quick, if we could, with how we arrived at the forecast that we did, and at what point did we start realizing, hey, maybe we're going to fall a bit short, and or we're actually at a point of concern now?
Well, forecasting was pretty much the same as we go through every spring or, early January. We get together with our co-managers. We trade forecasts. Sometimes, depending on the area, the tribes will do one for Coho and we'll do one for Chinook, and it varies through all Puget Sound. Overall, our forecasts were, like you said, due to be pretty good this year. We were expecting, right around 400,000 hatchery fish, another 300,000 wild fish due to come back. It all looked pretty good preseason, expecting to be right on par, better than last year, better than what we saw in 17, coming off the kind of the down cycle there in 15 and 16. But I think our first indications were, we've got a early hatchery run to the quill seam. And right away, we started noticing some small fish coming back. I was hearing anecdotal reports and some stuff from our creelers about them seeing small fish on the dock. So that was kind of our first indication. And then, as the months went along, we kept hearing reports of small fish. And, there was some news early on or late in August, early September about warm water off the coast. So that gets our hackles up a little bit as well. And then from there, just as part of what I do, I track tribal catches too, and was noticing that the tribal catches were way down from what we would expect, given similar years and similar run sizes. So we just started initiating discussions amongst the co-managers and talking about what people were seeing. Overall, I don't think it's, a crisis, maybe like it was back in 15. Okay. But it's definitely, as far as hatchery fish so far, I would say we missed the ball or we missed the forecast on hatchery fish. Yeah. I think it's still a little too early to tell about wild fish. Early indications I've heard from wild fish is that they're much bigger than the hatchery fish and they seem to be more abundant.
Do you have an idea on why you guys think we're seeing this fall short, or can you venture any information on that?
Well, it's always hard to tell the why. Obviously our forecasts are based on out migration. We have smolt traps in the rivers and that kind of thing. So it's really hard to tell because we're seeing different things in different basins. And sometimes we're seeing weird stuff even in the same basin. So, right. For instance, the Puyallup River, we have part of that run is a little bit earlier timed and goes up the White River, and the rest of the run goes through the main stem. Well, we've seen great returns coming back to the White River. I think there was 8,000 fish over Mud Mountain Dam, but kind of that later portion of the run just fell off. and didn't really have that, materialize at all. I think the Green River's one where we're still have a concern about broodstock. I haven't talked to the hatchery managers there, but, the mussel shoot shut down their fishery in the river earlier than they had planned. They're probably at like 20% of their expected catch, given similar run sizes. So, it's just about right next door in Lake Washington. We were able to count those fish going through the locks, and that run seems to be right on par of what we were expecting preseason. Mm-hmm. So, the other one that we've been really concerned about, it's been in that overfish status, is the Snohomish River. Mm-hmm. The weird thing there is, the Tulalipes really didn't get anything out in the marine area, but talking to our managers up there, we already have broodstock at the Wallop hatchery to meet, those broodstock needs. So for some reason, those fish just weren't getting caught in the areas and times and places that we would expect them to.
It kind of sounds like the decision to drop the Puget Sound limit throughout all of Puget Sound, pretty much, to one fish is probably the right move based on the numbers of return. And as you mentioned, the tribal fisheries were not producing as they would anticipate the numbers to be, far less, actually, as you mentioned. What if these wild fish turn around and we're getting good abundance in numbers? Is there any chance that, later on as we roll later into the season here, there's a chance to bump that back up? Or do you think we're just going to leave it at a one fish just for insurance and make sure we reach or exceed escapement needs just as a bumper?
Well, I think one of the things that we actually had to do this year was a result of the preseason process was most areas in Puget Sound right now are closed for salmon fishing. Mm-hmm. I think we only have 4 marine areas that are open, and that's for whether it's a Chinook reason or a Coho reason. So the areas that we still have open are 8-1 and 10, and South Sound and 13, and then in the canal we're still open as well.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't anticipate us making a move. Especially mid and South Sound, we manage those as hatchery stock. So I think we wouldn't necessarily make a move on wild fish since there's not a whole lot of wild fish in those areas anyways. Mm-hmm.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, do you know what the number of coho is that the Voights Creek hatchery is pumping out into the Puyallup system now? Not to throw you a curveball there, Mark. Sorry about that. I just thought maybe off the top of your head.
I don't have it in kind of right off the top of my head. I can't
okay. No worries. I was just curious. I know you said, the white is performing actually pretty well, and I was just curious as the upper stretches of that Puyallup Basin if we're seeing that return. And there's always there's hopeful anticipation for that November time frame of those later season coho that we used to always get into some of those Puget Sound rivers and hope that those definitely show. Obviously, they're the bigger fish. They're the ones historically that were always good to go after. Plus, the water conditions would be favorable. You could actually go get them in the river. So it's only first week of October. We still, in my mind, have a lot of coho season left. Just wanted to kind of get the feelers out there with some of the fishery managers and the biologists who keep tabs on this stuff to kind of give us a little insight as to why the decision was made and if the co-managers are on board with that. And to this date right now, the co-managers are not fishing Puget Sound, but they are conducting the authorized fisheries in Lake Washington because the numbers would support that. Is that correct?
Well, and I would have to check all the regulations to see who's still fishing and who's not. There's only a few tribes that actually have fishing rights out in the marine area.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure that most of the marine area fishing, except for maybe the Squaxin Island tribe, would be done by this point for coho.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, it was late notice, but you're a busy guy and hard to pin down sometimes with all that's going on and the constant barrage of meetings you guys are subjected to. So anytime you can take some time with us, Mark, we'll take it. So I appreciate you jumping on tonight.
Not a problem, Dwayne. Happy to do it.
Thank you, man. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
You as well. Thanks.
All right. So kind of gives you a little summary of what and why they made the decision they did.
Right, and I think the great thing to take from that is the co-managers are all working together to make in-season adjustments. So we see it all the time. Anytime we see a fishery get closed, you go to social media with the news release, and we see this constant barrage of the tribes doing this, the non-tribal guys doing this. This is BS, but at least it sounds like from his point of view that the co-managers are working together, and this is across the board. This isn't, well, we're going to stop non-tribal, but tribal's going to say, you know, we're going anyway. We don't care.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it before, Barnum. You know, years ago when we would advocate, working on committees like down here in the Grays Harbor Committee, I served on for years in the advocacy group, and we would ask for mid-season management, make adjustments. You know, don't just open a fishery and let us go kill fish, and then all of a sudden we overfish it by 1,500 Chinook or whatever it was. But to have in-season management, and you've done it multiple times and have mentioned and remind folks that sometimes it really benefits us and sometimes it kind of pisses us off because we get stuff closed down. If we continue down this road of mid-season management, and hopefully as we turn around on some of our fisheries, we're going to see opportunity and more opportunity open up. You'll start off a season with a 2-bag limit. Next thing they bump it to 4, like they've done on the Cowlitz fishery in certain times of the year. That does happen from time to time, albeit as of the last several years, we see more closures than we would like to see just based on the performance of our fisheries. But, you know, I think decisions like this by WDFW are conservative and, you know, needed. They can't just let it go just unchecked. Or we're going to be in a world of hurt. So, all right, we've ran a little long. Not too bad, though. We're going to jump out for a break. We come back. Not a first-time guest on previous shows that maybe you and I had been involved in, but first-time guest finally to land here in this studio via the phone. Brandon Glass, Team Hookup Guide Service, is going to check in with us on the Oregon coastal Chinook fishery down the estuary water. There's a number of rivers along that Oregon coast that the estuary water Chinook fisheries perform very well. They got an interesting management plan that's in place, which allows you to have 1 Chinook a day, 5 per season. And it's kind of interesting spin that they've done out. You haven't seen that type of management and limits up here relative to salmon. We've seen it on other fish, you know, sturgeon and halibut and things like that. But this is in reference to salmon estuary waters on certain rivers, coastal rivers in Oregon. So we're going to check in with Brandon Glass when we come back right after this break.
At Metals Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Hey, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. Geez, I got to turn this thing down. Holy smokes.
Blowing your own eardrums out.
Oh, my God. Dwayne England, Kelly Barnum in studio getting it done this evening. Good information from Mark on the Puget Sound, structure and why those decisions are made. Hopefully it helped you guys out to understand a little bit more what's going on. Now, that being said, walking down the road of conservation, Barnum, long-time listener, first-time caller, Brandon Glass, Team Hookup Guide Service on the phone. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good evening, guys. How you doing?
Hey, we're doing great. Yeah, just getting through the show as we always do. Appreciate you taking a little time out of your busy schedule, my friend. Haven't chatted in a long time. Picked up the phone last night to see what you had going on, and it was pretty compelling enough to say, hey, you need to jump on the show. Let's talk about this.
I'm just glad he survived Astoria.
No kidding.
Yeah, no. Astoria was good. Now I'm down here in the coastal range of Oregon here, chasing all these fall Chinook down here in this beautiful tidewater fisheries that we get to play with here for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Brandon, I found it interesting as you and I were talking about management philosophies and some of the things Oregon's doing along that coastal fishery. Let's just keep it general in recognizing some of the rules and regulations put into place amongst the Oregon coast. I think you'd mentioned to me 1 Chinook per day per angler, 5 per year, where season is the limit. Is that something they've done previously? Is this a first-time deal? What's the supportive information on that?
So that's the first time we've had 1 fish a day, 5 for the season for the whole Oregon coast. We've had zones like the North Zone where it was like that several years ago. But we've had 1 fish, 10 for the season before. Generally, it's a 2 fish, 20 for the season fisheries down here on the Oregon coast. But this year, it's also been set up in different zones where your Nestucca North and all the Tillamook tributaries is all 1 zone for 5 fish. Now, if you want to go up there and catch 5 fish, that's great. Keep them. Then you go down to the Salmon River south to Siuslaw for another zone. You can attach another 5 fish to your tag. Oh. You just can't have more than 5 in each one of those individual systems.
Right. How are the anglers reacting to those regulations? Everybody seem to be on board with that? Are you getting a lot of frustration from anglers?
Well, I mean, of course, I think everybody's frustrated, but I think mostly everybody's still happy that they can fish. You know, when I first got down here into September, there was a lot of fish in some of these coastal rivers that was greater than what we expected to see the entire season. So now a lot of us are going, well, why can't we go back to our normal, catch rates, 2 a day, 10 for a season, or even 20 for a season. But as those fish now have scurried up the tributaries, because the rains have come in and raised those tributaries up a little bit, we're kind of seeing a lull right now in a lot of these little coastal streams where, we can go get a couple a day, but it's not your whack 'em and stack 'em, and your graph's not loaded as we once saw 2 weeks ago.
Right. So let's talk about technique and approach here as you target these fish in lower estuaries. You're in your smaller sled. This isn't a drift boat show down there from what I'm understanding, and I've seen pictures. Some of your clients have been posting up exactly where you're fishing. I always find that kind of interesting when they throw the river names out and let everybody know where you're at, where you're whacking fish. But that being said, the approach and what you guys are using, is it a bobber and bait show? Are you trolling? Are you actually even in estuary water using pearl trolls and spinners, or what's the program, Brandon?
Well, down here in all of our Oregon coastal tributaries, it's a pretty simple process down here of trolling a triangle flasher, herring or spinner, trolling a pro troll spinner or bait, or super bait, that being said, or spin fish. A lot of people like to anchor fish sometimes on some of these coastal tribs and fish plugs. Mm-hmm. Then you do have your bobber and egg fishermen. So all the techniques work on these coastal tribs. It just depends on the tide and then size of your tides to dictate what you're going to present for the day.
Okay. On those bigger tides where you would anticipate fish getting pushed in, more water flowing, as the high end of that big tide pushes in, you lose a lot of that lower estuary current. You can actually troll either direction. What's your preferred method? You're going with the inline flasher, rotator, and bait, or a spinner or something?
on a couple of these tributaries, it's kind of all dependent on how the locals all fish it.
Okay.
So every local river is going to be a little different because you're going to get hounded if you're doing it the way you want to do it instead of the way the locals want it. Right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be, kind of going with the flow.
Right.
Of course, everybody down here has a Pro Troll rod set up to go.
Sure.
Your other really good fishermen that actually know how to fish are going to have several other techniques. Let's say cutting a herring, trolling that, doing some bobbers, doing that, maybe anchor fishing or hover fishing with a quick fish, during your big tide. When you get your monster 8-9 foot tides, plugs work really well. A lot of times these fish get pushed down near the bottom, and maybe you can't tack them with the troll gear as well, but you can fish stationary and fish a big flat fish, quick fish, killer fish, something like that. That's bait wrap, sardine, tuna fish, something like that.
Any particular colors on plug choice?
I tell you what, I see all these boats down here doing it, and pretty much a silver chartreuse is number one. Yeah. Other than that, anything with chartreuse.
And when that doesn't work, take it off and put chartreuse on.
If you got chartreuse, you're in the game, right?
Yeah. Right. So let's, before we cut you loose here, let's talk a little bit about as this fishery evolves. We get some rain, those tide pushes continue to move fish in. We get some rains. Conducive to getting the drift boat upriver, mid-river, or at the top end. Now you're going to go after some of these Chinook. Does that limit stay the same all throughout that? Is that all the same region or zone on some of those rivers, or do they open up a different limit in those sections? And or also, what is the approach up there? Bobber and eggs work pretty well. Pulling plugs. What's your suggestion?
Yeah, so it depends on what each tributary has. Every tributary is going to have its own specified deadlines. So you need to look on the ODF&W to find out which one of the tributaries is defined for its deadline. But as rivers do swell, come up, get muddy, everybody's off for a couple days not fishing, and then these rivers come back into shape, of course, everybody's going to race to the upper reaches.
Sure.
We get to start fishing the gravel bars, and all your tidal fish have been flushing back and forth in the tide water are now racing up there to go do their pre-spawn.
Right.
And that's a great fishery. I suspect that really this year's a little, of course, different, but we usually suspect that happening around Halloween on for most of these tributaries. This year we've been having the wettest, coldest September, October I've seen to date.
Yeah.
So we're not sure what's really going to happen. Fingers crossed, we don't have much precipitation for the next 2 weeks, so we can kind of get our similar October that we see generally, and then by the 20th to the 28th or 30th, we start getting some rain. That's fine.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. But we do like to see these fish stay out on tidewater, at least for our opportunities, as long as possible. But of course, for the fish runs, we do like to see them get up in those upper reaches, spawn successfully, and not all get hammered by fishermen.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I've seen down here that really kind of bothers me and really puts a sour taste in my mouth is some of these anglers are very good fishermen, and these guys know that you only get 5 fish to keep per season. And I've already seen them 7 days straight out here on massacre bites, and they're catching 10, 20 fish a day just to keep 1 or 2 good ones.
Yeah.
Ethically, it's not really. It's not right. I don't do that. I won't allow that with my people. And I just watch some of these guys. And, if anybody's listening, if you're going to go out there, it's going to be really good. Don't go right to the honey hole. Maybe if you want to spend the whole day, spread out a little bit. Try some new areas and go to the honey hole after a couple hours. Get your fish and move on. Be done for the day.
Don't keep beating on them. I mean, those conservation measures are put into place for a reason, and it doesn't mean, you only get to keep one, but go ahead and catch and release as many as you want. Soremouth a whole bunch of fish, and possibly interrupt their willingness to spawn. So,
Here's a funny thing was this gentleman was talking to me. He goes, "God, I don't know. It's been really good the last 4 days, and now it's gone dead." I'm like, "Buddy, you've hooked over 80 fish in 4 days. You've kept 7 fish.
Yeah.
Do the math. That's 74 fish that now will not bite.
Right.
Guys, come on.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, come freaking on. Let's do the math here. Think about it.
It's a good point. Hopefully people pay attention to it. Yeah.
It's a sick thing. So that's my only rant I have to say. I just wish people would be a little bit smart about it and know that our future is in your hands right now for our youth.
Right. Yep. Like I mentioned, the limits hedging towards the side of conservation are put into place for a reason. And if you show blatant disregard and just beat on fish, you're not helping for the cause. Right. So good points, Brandon. Always appreciate you getting on the show. This will be the first of many, my friend. It's always good to keep in contact with what Team Hookup's got going on, and appreciate your insight and all you do for the industry.
Absolutely, guys. Hey, good luck up there. Everybody have tight lines and go Seahawks.
Yeah, you got it. All right, buddy. Have a good night.
Thanks, Brandon.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, he makes a valid point, Barnum. You know, some of these conservation measures are put in place that, you know, there's reasons for it, and to show blatant disregard. Yeah, we're recreational and we want to catch fish, but sometimes it's like, okay, we've caught enough fish today. Let's move on and get off the river early. Nothing wrong with that.
And that is a tough call because, I mean, we all like fishing. We all like catching fish. And this time of year only comes around once a year. And when you have a great day of fishing where you're catching a lot of fish, it's so fun just to enjoy that day and just take it in. And, you know, that's what memories are made of. But at the same time, it is, I mean, you have to think about the conservation side.
You can have that day, but if you're that guy that goes back to that honey hole day after day after day for the better part of a month, and you're all about putting numbers on your social media, 18 for 25, 21 for 29. It's like, okay, yeah, we get it. Your bobbers and eggs are working pretty good.
You're a good fisherman.
You're a good fisherman in this hole. So, all right, we're going to jump out for a break. Hey, been doing pretty good as of late on Chinook where we could retain them. And, of course, lots of coho around in the areas that we've been fishing, Barnum. And I've been playing around with a couple different techniques I like to use when filleting out salmon. I don't know about you, but when I present guests and company and family with salmon off the grill or especially out of the smoker, for me, it's all about, at times, how it pellets, Barnum. And, you know, spitting out pin bones or picking small bones out of your meat, it's just not like a real enjoyable experience.
Right.
So been playing around a little bit with different ways of filleting out fish. I finally have come to an area where I got confidence in how I just fillet the pin bones right on out of the meat.
Right.
So use it if you choose. Doesn't matter. I'm going to show you anyway. Right. We're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We'll be in the bait lab. We're going to fillet out a nice about 12-pound coho we picked up here just the other day, and show you how to remove them pin bones and, you know, not waste a whole bunch of fish in the process. And then you can do with it what you want. So don't go anywhere. Stick around. Check the Hawk score. Jump right back. We're going out for a break. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. We're here in the Bait Lab. Bait Lab is now presented by Max Lure. Happy to have them on board. I mean, they're doing a fantastic job, and we are very happy to be teamed up with them. So I have here basically a nice wild coho salmon that was caught here a couple days ago. Basically snatched this thing out of the river on a jingling jig. So for what that's worth, just want to kind of run through a real simple way for me to fillet out this fish. I like trying to get as many bones out of the fish as I can when I either grill it, put it on the Traeger, cut it up into smaller chunks for smoking, whatever it is. You know, one thing about the presentation on your fish, no matter how you cook it or present it, is how it palates and not having to pick bones out of your mouth or your teeth. Especially if you're trying to convert people into enjoying fish, boneless is definitely something that will steer them in the right direction. So first thing I do, this is a fish that's been gutted at the river. If you look at this fish, it's extremely healthy. I mean, the thick belly walls on this thing are just lined with fat, okay? So when you're filleting out your salmon, you know, you want to do your due diligence and not remove all the fat out of the bottom end of this meat, whether you're grilling or smoking or whatever it is. This is a very healthy fish, early in river, just out of the salt, with a lot of its fat, nutrient, and oil still in the meat. It's very red. It's a nice buck. As we fillet this out, we don't want to get rid of all that, so you got to kind of be careful with how you remove those rib bones and get that stuff out of there. One thing that you can do to make it easier for you is you start by just simply getting rid of these external fins, because they just kind of get in your way as you're dragging that fillet knife through there. I'll take these lower fins out of here and hope I don't cut my finger. If I cut off a finger at any point, we may change our program here. So we're just getting these fins out of the way. Makes it a lot easier to fillet this thing out, okay? And I'll just remove whichever ones I feel like need to go, because again, they're just in the way. Now, this one has been opened up at the belly cavity. For some, it's really easy just to come behind the collar here, 45 on the knife, and go down the backbone. And if you remove that and you flip the fish over, now you're gonna fillet it against a backbone that's laying flat down on a board, and it's not in a neutral position. So a lot of times you end up hacking up that other side of the fillet. It doesn't work well for you. If you struggle with that, one thing you can do is simply take the knife, go in through the belly here on the top side of the backbone. For me, I like to start with the blade going towards the tail, okay? So now I'm just gonna run this, and definitely have a sharp knife, all right? Gonna run this down. I'm not gonna cut it all the way through. I use that as a pickup point. I'll show you that in a second. Now I turn the knife around, get it in there on the backbone where it was before, and now we're just gonna run this up towards the head, all the way up, okay? Now, because I haven't removed this, I can simply flip that fish over, all right? So now the reason you do that is that slab underneath there helps keep that backbone in a neutral plane. I'm not having to worry about carving down or against it. It doesn't naturally take my knife down into the backbone, which becomes problematic. So now I'm gonna take this same exact way on the top side of the backbone, and we're gonna go towards the tail, okay? It's held that spine in a neutral position, so I'm not wasting a lot of meat. Come back up, figure out where that line is, and I got it right there. Okay, so basically these are cut off both sides. Now I can go ahead and just finish this side here. I don't want the collar on, so I'm going to poke this on through right there and cut back up towards the head at about a 45. Cut that through, okay? And I just roll that right off there. Really nice clean fillet from top to bottom. Turns out real nice. Turn this one over. Poke this through at the fin, at the collar. Bring that up towards the head. Okay. Again, I'll finish the tail here. Okay. 2 fillets. Now, you can see not a lot left on this fish at all. If you want to save those collars, you can. On these coho of about 12 pounds, there's not a ton of meat left on those. I haven't wasted a whole lot of meat. So drop those off. So now I have 2 really nice fillets here, okay? I have a little bit of cleanup to do. I look at the top here. I'm gonna go ahead and leave like this right up here, this top fat. I'm gonna leave that in there because for cooking, that just makes sense. This one here is pretty clean. Now I'm looking at my rib bones, okay? So I used this knife as my knife to cut down the backbone and through the rib bone. So it's, you know, it's got a sharp edge, but to get these rib bones off of this flesh, I'm gonna get another blade that has a little more flexibility to it and is extremely sharp. Now, one thing I can tell you as we look down on this is if I run this along here, and I think I'm gonna take all that out at the same time, what you end up doing, I had mentioned this belly fat before, and you can see all this belly fat down at the bottom here. You don't wanna remove all that with the skin. Those rib bones stop right about there. There's no reason for me to cut all this out of here. I want those fats and oils to be in there when we're cooking this fish. So the way I do this is it's important. You want to grab this top edge of these bones, okay? Really sharp knife, and I'm just going to make kind of a starter cut all the way down along right here, okay? I'm also going to come back to the top and make sure I get this, I'm capturing this front edge of every one of those bones to make sure I don't end up cutting through them. Now, with a little pressure on the meat and exaggerating, rotating this blade upwards almost at a 45, okay, I draw the knife down the bones at a section at a time. So I'm gonna work my way through the bones versus trying to scoop it out. It's when I scoop it out that I end up cutting through this belly wall, and I don't wanna get rid of all that. So get back up here to capture this bone right here. Again, now I'm just basically drawing it along here, okay, and I hold it flat. And by doing that, again, really sharp knife, and now I come up and I remove all that, and it's left a lot of meat on that belly, okay? Now I got the opposite side to do. Take this one here, and same thing, but it's kind of opposite, but you just want to go along those rib bones. And again, we don't want to take too much at a time. And if I angle the knife slightly up, you can feel it run along those bones, leaving as much of that meat and fat on there as we can, okay? And it's just work your way through nice and easy. You don't have to be in a hurry on this or you just waste too much meat, all right? I see guys that go after it and they take big strides at once and they end up cutting a lot of that belly meat out of there. So that right there is leaving a majority of that, and it actually comes back up towards all that. All that fat is left on that belly, which when it comes to smoking and grilling, that is ideal. So now, here's where we get the pin bones out, okay? So now I have this, we'll do this side, okay? And we're just gonna do one here to get through this process. Pin bones run on this high ridge. You can barely make them out. Maybe if I put them center here, you can see the top edges of these. And they go about almost, it goes beyond half. It's about 2/3 of your fillet on this top ridge has these pin bones. Now, those go in and they're angled back towards the high back of the fish. So I take another small blade and I want to cut the small side, what ends up being my small side of my cut first. And I'm simply going to find that pin bone line, and I'm going to, with the knife pointing down towards the top of the back, okay, I'm going to run that knife right along those pin bones. And you can feel them right along that blade. And I'm not pushing down really hard on the knife. I'm just letting the very sharp knife and the weight of the knife just kind of drag along the pin bones. And you want to feel it. It just kind of goes tick, 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 tick along the bones. And it's important that I leverage the knife towards the top of the fish. That allows it to stay on that pin bone line and draw. So let me turn this around and do it this way. So I'm looking at that, I'm on the high side, and I am simply cutting down that pin bone line, okay? And I can see most of them, but the majority of them I'm just feeling as it goes along the way here, okay? So as that cuts down, and I just take several swipes at it, it doesn't have to all be at once, all right? And we want to get clear to the back here. I can feel them all the way back here on the ridge. Okay, we're moving along. Cut those down, and once you get past the bones, you can literally push that on through the skin, and you've now cut that slab out. So that top piece right there is pretty much bone free. You might miss a couple back in here, but those bones are right here in this ridge. So now on the inside of this cut, I look at where these bones are, and I'm just going to draw this down along the pin bones. Now you might think, well, we're wasting too much meat, but I assure you, when this is done, because it's just the knife dragging along the bones with a little bit of flesh intact, yeah, you can wait and you can pull each one of these out by a plier, and when they break off, as most of them do, you get kind of pissed off, and you know, half of them are buried in there. I can run this down now through the skin, okay, and all the way through. And now I get down to the bottom in here, simple angle cut, back on the skin, maybe carve that out of there, and there you go. So now when I go to cook this up, all right, if I'm gonna grill this, I simply just push this back together, basically like that, which helps keep the moisture in there. If I was to cook this and leave that hanging out like that, it's probably going to dry this piece out a little too fast, but I can assure you, after grilling several fish this way, just with that pushed up against there nice and tight, seasoned up, oiled and whatnot, that thing cooks up every bit as good as if, you know, this little strip of flesh is in there. And if you look at that, and that's even a little thicker than I normally do, but that did not waste a whole lot of meat. I mean, that is, for me, that is worth getting those pin bones out of there, and I have a nice fillet. Now, if I go to cut this up, I want to make it into separate sections. Here at the tail section, you know, that's a no-brainer because it's already cut all the way through. And then I have this here. I can go ahead and pack this up and freeze this side by side. I basically have 3 very nice chunks of fillet there that are pretty much about 95% bone free. So I don't know about you, this is an option. You can certainly cook up this whole slab for guests and company and just, you know, let them get those pin bones out of there, or you can take some time and cut those pin bones out, give that a try. Again, it doesn't take a lot of pressure, sharp knife, run along those rib bones, take that sliver of meat out of there, and it's pretty doggone simple. So hopefully that gives you a little tip on something else to try when you're filleting your fish. It's an option. There's a lot of ways to fillet fish. I get it. This is something I started doing and enjoy it. Okay, with that, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back, we're going to be in the kitchen with Chef Kelly and Sherry. Oddly enough, garlic salmon recipe, boneless, guaranteed. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break.
Come out to break the night, and the pink skies waving goodbye. She come out to break the night, leaving no traces around. inside the trees, just trying to free a reckless heart. He's trying to be as light as the breeze. The queen of earth, Friday morning. The queen of earth, Friday morning. Come out to break the night, you'll be wearing her charm so free. Yeah, she's trying to avoid everyone.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. We're here in the kitchen for this week's recipe of the week, and I am excited about this one because it's salmon.
It's salmon. I mean, you got to be excited about salmon.
How beautiful is that?
I know. I mean,
From you?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. My salmons aren't that big yet, but hopefully
You'll get there.
Yeah, next couple of days I'm going to go fishing. So.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to do a garlic seared, pan-seared salmon over zucchini noodles. I'll show you about those a little later.
All right.
Fingerling potatoes. Basil, we got some cherry tomatoes, some heirloom cherry tomatoes, they're gorgeous, and a lemon mint vinaigrette.
Okay, so say the full name.
Oh my gosh.
I know you want to.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Garlic salmon over zucchini noodles with fingerling potatoes, heirloom cherry tomatoes, lemon mint vinaigrette. Boom, gotcha.
Special board.
Uh-huh.
Takes up the whole special board.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so first thing we need to work on is these fingerling potatoes, because these guys are going to take a little while. These are, these are gorgeous. They come in lots of different colors too. There's a ruby crescent one.
Yeah.
All kinds of fun ones. And they're delicious. Creamy, centered. Sort of like a Yukon Gold. Okay, so a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. About a tablespoon of that. Some fresh ground black pepper. All the usual suspects.
Kosher salt.
Kosher salts, even though it says iodized salt on there, I know, don't say it.
The container is everything though.
I love that container. I have that thing so long. And some granulated garlic. I don't like using fresh garlic when I'm roasting. I mean, you can finish with it, but I don't like doing it because the garlic tends to burn before the potatoes gets cooked.
Oh, because they have to be in there for a while.
Yeah, I figure like 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
That's why we're starting these first.
Okay.
Okay. So you see I'm putting them face down for a reason, because the metal kind of sears it and gets a nice little crispy brown golden goodness. Okay, so we're going to throw these in the oven. Okay. So now we're going to work on our salmon. And same thing, we're going to coat a little bit of extra virgin olive oil.
Okay.
Just like that. Both sides.
And you've left the skin on?
Left the skin on, of course, you saw that.
Yep.
And with season kind of heavy because...
So observant.
I know.
I know.
Of course, you saw that I have the skin on there, so you're going to have to season it a little heavier than usual because you're only going to get seasoning on one side.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So I'm going to put just a touch of that granulated garlic on there too, but we're also going to use fresh garlic too. Later on, I'll show you how.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
So that's all seasoned up, ready to go. We've got our pan nice, super hot. Good amount of oil in there. Swish it around. You see it's all smoking, super, super hot. We're dropping it away from ourselves.
Not drop and run?
Not drop and run. Yeah, that is just not a good technique. You know, you need to really make sure that you just drop it away from you and don't do the whole, you know, this is the pan, don't do the whole like this, because I don't care how fast you go, it's gonna get you.
It's gonna get you.
You know?
Yeah.
So just...
Or me,
easy.
because I'm standing right by you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about... I never got you, come on. Let's talk about our zucchini ribbons. So I'm going to show you here how I did this. What I'm doing is I'm taking a Swiss peeler. Oh my God.
Yes, from Mama Rose.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what I'm doing is I'm just taking the outside parts down to like where you see the seeds start. You can see the seeds. And I stop right there. So if you have a garden, you know, you have a surplus of zucchini, this is a good use for them, is make zucchini noodles. Just make sure that, you know, you're going to cook these like super briefly. So this is not, you know, because once you start really cooking them, they start to wilt down too much. Okay.
That's what I noticed with the noodles, you know, you can't cook them for very long.
Let's do a little check on our salmon.
Whoop.
There we go. Okay, we got a good sear on our salmon. Then we're just going to do just like how we do in the restaurant.
Oh.
Throw that whole thing right in there.
Okay.
And there we go. So we'll turn that off. And that off too. Okay. So now let's work on our vinaigrette.
Okay.
So we're going to do a lemon mint vinaigrette. Now we're not going to be doing a traditional, because you know if you're going to emulsify this, you probably use some mustard, and that's like a traditional binding agent. You know, some people, you know, if you were going to make like a Caesar dressing, you add egg and mustard. So, but we're just going to make a broken vinaigrette out there, so it's not going to be fully emulsified. I don't want it to be. Okay. So,
whatever you want.
Traditionally, for the ratio for a vinaigrette will be 3-to-1. So 1 part acid, 3 parts oil. Okay, so we're going to do 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, a little bit of salt, fresh ground black pepper. Okay, and then about 6 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6.
I think you went a little over there.
Come on now, that was exact.
I feel like I should measure.
Okay, so then we have about 15 mint leaves and about 15 basil leaves. The mint's really strong on here, that's why I'm calling it a mint vinaigrette.
Okay.
Okay.
Those herbs smell amazing.
So I tried this blender earlier and it sounded like the lawnmower going, so we're going to do that off camera. All right?
Okay. Well, then I guess while we make some noise in the kitchen, we'll go ahead and throw it back to you guys in the studio.
Well, I can tell you because right now we're doing the pre-records with Chef up north doing the hunting stuff, that freaking salmon recipe is not only simple, but absolutely amazing.
Well,
I mean, we eat a lot of fish. Right. And you got to change it up. And that's one thing so great about Chef and Sherry. They're in the kitchen doing these recipes. And most of the stuff you have in your house, well, if you've been following Chef, you have this stuff because you have to buy it all to do his recipes. But once you have it, you can do recipe after recipe. And that garlic salmon stuff is no joke. It is really good.
And the cool part is, I mean, like you said, in the kitchen. You're not like cooking it on a hot plate in the garage.
What?
Well, I mean, people do that, I've been told.
Well, you know, I do that upstairs in my man room.
Right.
That's how Neanderthals cook. So, all right, we are going to jump out for a quick break. Lots of good comments here on the interwebs. Appreciate you guys hanging in there and watching the fillet technique. It looks like a few of you are going to give that a try, so do so. Let us know if that works out for you. Boneless salmon is the only way to go, right? Again, we'll jump out for a quick break. We come back. This is kind of a little intro segue and something for you to be part of. This will be like the precursor to the true full-on mancation round robin that we're going to throw at you here in a little while. That might get out of control. We may get...
You're going to need a vacation from your mancation.
I think I'm going to need a vacation from my mancation. But before we get there, in all seriousness, we have a fishery that should be going on this time of year for catch and release right now over on the east side in Idaho in the Clearwater for steelhead. And then historically, October 15th would be a time frame when it opens up for catch and retain. And we're talking about those big hatchery produced dual red stripers, behemoth big steelhead, so much fun to go after. Did it for years, and we'll get into that part of it with the guys later on, but that fishery is not happening. If you've been following us, you understand why. They've closed down a lot of these fisheries in the upper tributaries to the Columbia, along with fisheries on the Columbia as it relates to steelhead. This is very concerning. Some buddies of mine are here from Idaho, John Albridge, which a lot of you folks know via Facebook. O'Shaughnessy, we'll get into that. That's a whole other story. But the fact that they're not fishing kind of pisses them off just a little bit. But they have some great insight as to how it used to be and what it is now. We're going to jump into that with the boys from Idaho when we come back from this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
At Metals Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals. So we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Welcome back to FHN. Dwayne England, the Barnum, back here in studio. We got our good buddy, long-standing friend, long-time fishing buddy, Johnny Albridge, all the way from Idaho.
Long ways, baby.
How was the drive over?
It was interesting, the guy I was with, but great.
The guy of who you speak of, O'Shake Nasty, will not drag his nasty carcass in here.
There's a chair right there for him.
Yeah, it's got his name on it. It says, you know, cabin rules. Hey, show up, relax.
Yeah, he probably has warrants.
He may have warrants. He may have warrants just from the drive over. Yeah, right.
I think Pierce County sign popped up. O'Shake Nasty in the house.
Johnny Albridge, Dr. Love, as it were, back in the day. We'll get into all that. But hey, so you have a full-time job, but you have been a part-time guide as long as I've known you for real-time fishing. Toby White, over there out of Lewiston, Idaho. And he's over in Clarkson, though. But you know, your home waters are the Clearwater and the Snake, and I have fished those waters with you a ton. The Beard's been over there.
Yeah, the Beard.
We've had a cadre of folks. Most of these guys here tonight, hanging out the house for the next couple days. We would come over, stay at your place.
It's where it all started.
It's where it all started, and this stems from, and we'll kind of jump into this at the closing segment of the show as well. But you know, the old. The early years without all the social media. when we had the fishing forums. And we would have organizers and events scheduled, and people would show up, and lo and behold, we're camping, we're fishing, we're meeting. Next thing you know, we become friends, and these friendships have lasted a long time. And we always would look forward, coming from the west side, as the wet side was referred to from you east side boys. And we would come over into that bitter cold mid-October, look forward to that opportunity to fish the Clearwater for those big dual red stripers, those hatchery-produced big broodstock, steelhead, synonymous with Idaho and steelhead fishing, right? Lots of history over there. Largest steelhead hatchery in the world that you took me to one time. It's awe-inspiring, and yet you guys have no fishery this year.
Closed Saturday at midnight. We're done.
Not even catch and release season.
Correct.
And definitely not catch and retention season starting October 15th. Wow. Our Tillos of years gone by are long gone. Our small group of friends, close friends, we've kept it going with our now mancation.
Exactly.
You guys were here last year. We had a blast, albeit our fishery suffered a little. We would love to come to Idaho.
I'd love you to come.
We would love to come back to the house. You know, see Sarah and the kids and hang out. Fact is, though, you're like, hey, we got no fishing over here.
Exactly.
So
it was pretty. Last year was bad. You know, they shut us down a little bit, but this year is just. I mean, it's sad.
You got buddies that work at the hatcheries. You got buddies who are, you know, got their thumb on the pulse, as we do over here on the west side, and they know what's going on with those fisheries to a point. You know, what kind of information are you getting? What has happened to that Clearwater steelhead fishery?
Just not getting the returns. I mean, it's a combination of everything everybody over here is dealing with. You know, sea lions, nets, birds, a little bit of everything. But
all that.
It's you know, there's been 2 years before, 2017 and 2013, I believe, that they shut us down to 28 inches or less. Okay.
So you had a slot limit.
Yeah. Or 28 inches. Yeah, 28 inches or less. Well, it's hard to catch a 28-inch steelhead in the Clearwater River.
Right.
You know, at 13, I had opening day. I'm sure I had 4 or 5 guys on my boat, and I fished all day.
Yeah.
Whereas I could have been done in a couple hours.
Sure.
You know? So it's tough.
There's still opportunity on the Snake.
Yeah, from Cows Creek up.
Right.
So Hellebar fishery. Real-time boats are fishing there right now.
Okay.
A couple over at Hanford Reach. That fishery's popping right now.
Yeah, for big Chinook.
Yeah.
Right.
But
so, it's pretty disappointing that when you look at, as we get over that east side of Washington and it carries on over into Idaho and the area that you reside, we have no steelhead opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dismal. You know, they downcasted that run again to, I believe, 86,000.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conflicting information. They were conducting commercial gill nets, harvesting Chinook, while those steelhead were running in 70-degree water. We're trying to get some more information as it, you know, relates to that. But at the end of the day, we're trying to manage a steelhead fishery that's suffering significantly. And it's affecting person's lives over there.
Oh,
you know, Toby's trying to run his outfitter business.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's some drip boat guides just on the Clearwater that they strictly fish the Clearwater River.
Yep.
Right.
Done. Nothing.
They're not guiding?
Yeah.
Right. That's going to be hard on those small communities up and down.
Oh, yeah.
There.
I mean, the hotel and just all of us, the whole area is.
Do you know annually how many steelhead they typically plant out of that Dorsway hatchery?
I don't.
Excuse me.
I should have got that piece of information.
Should have got that number for me.
But a lot. I mean, it's the biggest steelhead hatchery in the world. So it produces a ton. You've been there.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
Excuse me. They have a recognized A run, B run.
Correct. 2-year fish, B-run fish, average 10 to 14 pounds. They grow bigger. I mean, I've seen you catch 18, 20-pound steelhead out of the Clearwater.
It's ridiculous.
You know? It's a special place, but unfortunately, we don't have the fish this year. So,
talking with those that manage the hatchery, any changes coming? Excuse me.
No.
On what their future plans are, referencing the hatchery. They're just trying to get egg take.
Yeah, what did Joe say? He had to get 17. What was it? What was the number? Excuse me for a moment.
I see you did your homework there.
I did, but your wife fed me dinner, so now I want to take a nap.
You're kind of in a coma.
Exactly.
An A coma, not Tacoma.
They're projecting there's going to be 1,700 B-run fish return this year.
Okay.
They need 1,350 for broodstock.
Okay.
Wow. So
they should get egg take.
They should get egg
take.
That doesn't leave a fishery for us.
Right.
So
yeah, we're splitting hairs.
I understand that.
Right.
But you read the report today. I get the text message from another group, all guides, and the king season's still open. Chinook season's still open on the Clearwater till the 10th.
Till the 9th?
9th or 10th,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But fellow guide on the river today, saw fly fishermen, guys backchilling, and, you know, they're targeting steelhead. They're not fly fishing for kings, and that's the big war back and forth. We won't get into that.
Yeah, that seems like a political nightmare right there.
Yeah.
I mean, people want opportunity to fish, and it's pretty hard when you have a river that runs through your town, and that is your home waters, whether it's down below or you go up higher in the system, and that's what you've done forever. And now the entire system is closed to that.
I drive across Memorial Bridge every morning and look up the river and like, wow, you know.
Did you ever think it would come to this?
No, I didn't. I didn't see this. I mean, last year they shut us down for a while.
Yeah.
But boy, it's a pretty sad deal to
last year when
completely shut off the Clearwater River. I mean, holy smoke.
Who saw that coming? Nobody.
Yeah.
Last year when we were having these discussions and they shut it down earlier, like, well, you know, they're anticipating next year to should be a rebound year. Things are looking good. We're going to get out of that 2015, 2016 blob situation that affected salmonids and, you know, steelhead returns all the way up to Idaho. 2015, because, you know, we're looking at steelhead 3 and 4 year fish, and you would think that, hey, we're going to get steelhead back, right? And lo and behold, here we are 2019.
Yeah.
Guess what? So I'm really kind of concerned where we're going to be this winter, rolling into this winter here, west side of Washington.
Yeah.
Last year was okay. Wasn't like off the charts. It was good in some regards, but I just don't know if we're going to see big numbers, you know, or decent numbers.
One thing we have a coho fishery. They opened it up this year. It wasn't open last year. In fact, and it's been 5 or 6 years ago, they opened it up for the first time since 1942.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have an opportunity this year, but it closes October 10th. Well, the fish, those coho, we'll have a few, but they're not going to be there in that time. So they're shutting us down the 10th. And
there's a comment on here by Aaron talking about winter steelhead in the Clearwater during this college time. You know how many guys I've met over the years that put in their time at Wazoo or Gonzaga, and
Idaho.
They spent, or Idaho, and they spent countless days learning that Clearwater River, and to them it's part of their, you know, their time growing up as they transition from high school kid to a young man. They spent 3 or 4 years over in that neck of the woods on that Clearwater.
Look at Doug Richard. He grew up, you know, he's being affected by this.
Absolutely.
He's guiding on the Clearwater, the snake, and you know, he's part of our group that we met before social media. And,
way back in the day.
Yeah, been a long time.
Well, it's sad to see. I hope they're able to turn that around. It's there, unfortunately, at the tail end of the entire deal. You mentioned it as we got into this, with everything, you know, getting in the way of those fish returning, let alone outbounding. We talked about that earlier in the show on the bird predation, in that the confluence of the snake and the Columbia. Yeah, you're right there. Clearwater into the snake to the Columbia. I mean, that's the area. A lot of problems with getting enough fish out. Big problems getting enough fish back. And now it's affecting a lot of people in not having the ability to fish.
Unfortunately, you guys are at the end of the pecking order up there.
And just, I mean, the hotels, restaurants, I mean, it's going to hurt a lot of people.
It's a huge economic impact. I bet if you were to talk to Michelle at the Chamber of Commerce there, you know, it's the lack of fishing opportunity for recreational opportunity throughout the city of Lewiston. It's a huge hit.
Yeah, but again, there's still opportunity on the snake.
Correct.
You know, and so I mean, gloom and doom on the Clearwater, but you know, from a guide standpoint, we don't want people to shy away because there's plenty of opportunity up at the Snake River.
So we should have done mancation at your house?
No, I don't like.
I got all you jack wagons.
I'm a Clearwater guy, man. I like the Clearwater.
Messing up my joint.
I guess I have taken on the snake a few times. You know.
No, we had great times on the snake.
But you know, I like it over here. Really. I walk in the house and Shing's got a spread for me.
Yeah.
Food, that's correct.
Thank you.
You had to go there, didn't you?
I did not. All right, we're going to jump out for a quick break. Speaking of food, we're back in the kitchen. Chef Kelly and Sherry are going to finish that garlic salmon. So make sure you get your notepad out and take notes and get those recipe components down and follow that along. This is one you definitely want to try. It is salmon season. We're catching plenty of fish depending on where you live. Right. disregarding Idaho, of course. But
you're catching me fish tomorrow. Boy.
No, you're catching your fish tomorrow.
Well, you better put me on fish. Then.
Okay. Then we're going to come back here and cook it up with this garlic salmon recipe. So don't go anywhere. Jump out for a quick break. We come back. We'll be in the kitchen, finish up this salmon, and enjoy. We'll be right back.
In the kitchen.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the kitchen, and we're here to finish off our salmon dish. And I'll just let you explain.
It's a garlic seared salmon that I did not catch.
Yes, we came to that conclusion.
With zucchini noodles, roasted fingerling potatoes, heirloom cherry tomatoes with a lemon mint vinaigrette. Big mouthful, but it's, something I would put on a specials board.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start working on our zucchini noodles. So first off, though, we're going to take our fingerling potatoes. We're going to re-crisp them up just a little bit.
Okay.
So get our pan hot, a little bit of oil in there.
So when we left earlier,
we
were doing the salmon.
Right.
Okay.
Get these all happy. Okay.
Happy potatoes.
While those are crisping up, I'm going to add a little bit of butter to our pan here.
Okay. Oh, did we turn it down?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, so while that is melting away, getting hot and happy, see our potatoes now getting super crispy now. Excellent.
Yep.
So we're going to add our onions. This is probably like 1/4 of an onion.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want these like too wilted.
To be crispy.
Yeah, I want them crispy.
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure that when you're dealing with these zucchini noodles, that you're not going to add them in too early, because when you're ready to plate, you're going to be like 45 seconds. Toss.
Yeah,
done.
Because these are no bueno.
Yeah, well,
if they're too done.
Yeah, they're just going to wilt down and then be like flat, and you're going to go, we're kind of losing our effect.
Yeah, anytime you're cooking zucchini with zucchini like that, you don't want to cook them too long.
So we're adding about a tablespoon of garlic to our
butter.
Our pan that we sauteed our salmon in. And then we're going to put him back in there. And him get all happy, happy, happy.
Boy, you're just a happy dish today, right?
I know, right?
Yeah.
All right. Potatoes are looking awesome.
Yeah.
We'll add just a little bit of fresh garlic of our own.
Okay.
Okay, now we're ready to go. We're going to add our...
Heaping.
Yeah, heaping, like
Ribbons.
more than you think. Okay, let that saute up.
Yeah, because they also wilt down.
Yeah, pretty bad. So season it.
Okay.
Salt and pepper.
Okay.
Okay. Salmon's getting all beautifully garlicky, buttery, happy goodness.
Smelling delicious.
Yep. Okay. Okay, that's going to go quick. Okay, so all I need is these. I'm going to use my, you've seen me use these pickled red onions before. This is just red wine vinegar, salt, pepper, a little bit of sugar. There you go.
Right.
Okay.
And you can leave them, they last a long time in the fridge too,
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So you can use them for mini dishes.
Right. There's about a tablespoon of basil.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to pull our salmon off.
Oh, looks delicious. I seem to always think that. Imagine.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we can add our cherry tomatoes. See these beautiful heirloom cherry tomatoes?
You just put those in half.
Yeah, cut those in
About
half.
6 or 8 of them.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
I'm going to put some green onions too. I had a little extra. So.
Okay.
Okay, so now we are ready to plate.
Wow.
That's it. Remember I said it goes quick?
Yeah.
We want to get like everything in there. Some of the potatoes, tomatoes. There we go. Make a little base. Oh, about you. That looks
What'd
pretty.
you say? Make a little what?
Little base, you know,
Base.
for your.
Thought you said face. I was like, really? You're making a face?
You make a face.
Make faces at you all the time.
There we go.
All right.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, then we'll take our salmon that we had all that nice, beautiful garlic butter all over top of it. And we'll take a little extra, pour that right back on top, maybe a little bit around.
Okay, I can't wait.
Okay, then we're going to put a little bit of our goat cheese around. If you threw the goat cheese in with the saute, you're going to find that it just kind of melts in there, and so you need to kind of just like add it after the fact.
So you just kind of bought that and you crumbled it up a little bit.
Yeah, and you know some goat cheeses are more.
Yeah, this
softer
one
than
we
others.
had herbs in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have our pickled red onions. Okay, and we'll do a mint garnish today, and then to finish off with our basil mint vinaigrette.
Seriously, chef.
Boom.
Yeah.
And we'll parsley to kill it. There we go. There you go. A garlic crusted pan-seared salmon with zucchini noodles, roasted fingerling potatoes, heirloom cherry tomatoes, and a lemon mint vinaigrette.
That's incredible.
There you go.
Give them a better view. Yeah. Well, we're really going to dig into this like every week. And we'll throw it back to you guys in the studio. Yes. Salmon.
Looks pretty.
All right, welcome back into the studio. That was the finalization of that garlic salmon on a stovetop in an oven. So there you have it. Hey, you're looking at some interesting characters, to say the least. Couldn't get them all in here. Got a few that want nothing to do with this, and that's fine.
Probably a few that we don't want nothing to do with.
Yeah, well, those two in particular, The FCC doesn't rule Facebook and YouTube, but they would after those two. Yeah, they would after those two showed up. So we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We're just going to have kind of a closeout segment. You know, fishing's supposed to be fun, and developing friendships and spending time with family is what it's all about at the end of the day. Not the competitive nature that a lot of folks have turned to, and what we find ourselves doing at 3 and 4 a.m. at the boat ramp, only to find out you're the 20th guy to get on the river. So that stuff is for the young generation. Go ahead and have it. We've been friends a long time. We all came together because of fishing and hunting, and some of the best memories are served with these gentlemen right here in this room. So we're going to jump out for a break. We come back. We're going to give you a little insight into truly what mancation is all about. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
What if there was a smarter way to search for your new home? Introducing the Better Homes and Gardens real estate website and mobile app. This revolutionary new search tool puts your needs first. Narrow your search to what matters most to your family, like school data, school districts, and even walk scores. Get easy access to your local affiliated agent, as well as unique and local insights about neighborhoods and properties directly within the app. With synced and saved preferences, you'll always pick up wherever you left off. Get your smarter search started today with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate.
There's a high school game tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hey, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. We are here in studio with a large audience of gents. Barnum, clear down there at the end.
Yep.
Just trying to figure this whole thing out. Hey, this is the end result of what happens over 15 plus years and what is deemed now as mancation. We like to joke about it. Back before, long before social media, we had basically fishing forums. And somehow, all of us had nothing better to do in the evening but sit at the computer, drink a few beers, and poke around on the interweb and see what's going on. And we found ourselves on a fishing forum, aka men's chat room. What's it called now, Barnum?
Grinder.
Oh, right. Not actually. Well, the fishing forums led to group gatherings put on by a handful of aggressive folks that wanted to bring people together about fishing. We would do campouts on the Kalama, on the Cowlitz. These guys, we'd team up, we'd come over to Idaho. First time I brought Goff over, the state of Idaho changed their border crossing regulations. So it's long-standing that we've been hanging out, and it started from basically fishing forums, getting together, becoming buddies, hanging out for years, fishing west side, Idaho, east side. Those kind of dissolved as social media took up. Yep. But we have stayed together and tried to get together at least once a year. We share fishing stories, hunting stories. We interact, information, phone calls, on the old interweb, whatever. Stay in contact. We've watched our families grow up. When we met,
You think?
Yeah. When we met, our kids were babies. You didn't even have children yet. So maybe one.
Was Molly even
now
born?
You have 7. What?
Was Molly even born?
Yeah, she was 1.5.
Was she?
1.5. So I guess the point of this is the fact that, again, fishing's supposed to be fun. And, we're at that point in our lives where we try to take advantage of just, it's more about the camaraderie and hanging out, isn't it?
For sure. For sure. Yeah. Fish is a bonus these days.
It's not about catching when you're hanging out with you, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jim Goff, First Responders Live. Catch Hero to the nation. Thanks for taking time. Checks in the mail. Johnny Albridge, Mark Fulner, Andy. Yeah, I won't say what we say. And then, of course, the Barnum. So, what's your guys' take on this whole thing as it's evolved? I mean, we get together once a year, just kind of hang out, fish, have a few beers, tell stories and lies, and have a good time.
You got to talk to your nephew Connor tonight for the first time since,
in several years. He's too busy with life. Football, off to college.
Great. I mean, the friendships we've made. I mean, I get a hug off every year.
There's a couple standouts in this crew. Yeah. One, and then we pulled in O'Shea Nasty here a few years ago.
Yeah, John Patrick O'Shaughnessy.
Born on
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. Might be a little Irish in him.
The warrant just got
fined. Look out, when he does have Irish in him.
He had more Irish in him once in a while that stint in prison, but a little Irish in him from time to time. So, great guy. We're happy to have him. We don't bring many into this crew. Yeah. So we're spending the next couple of days fishing.
Relaxing, having
a good time, as we should. We're not getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, not to disappoint anybody, but we have a little bit different program.
You saying we're getting old?
Yeah. I'm a grandpa, right? For God's sakes.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Fuller hasn't joined us for a couple of years. Been busy with life. Got married, right?
Fish Hog's back in the game, man.
Fish Hog's back in the game.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. When was the last time you went fishing?
It's been a few years.
Yeah. That's not right.
My house?
It ain't right. So. Yes, I think it was. Yeah.
Or was it the Wainucci cabin?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Went down there.
The Wainucci cabin.
Rockies.
A lot of good memories up there. Yeah.
Time to get back in it. So.
Yeah.
First cast, first fish. When we were waiting for somebody when we dropped the boat in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And there was a
first cast, and I missed it, and the second cast I actually caught.
And there was a profound statement recorded that day by a well-known local banker, if I remember right, that still circulates around the interwebs.
Andy, how's your day? We won't go there.
Don't go there.
What's your goal today, Andy?
Yeah, that's what it was.
I'm going to be the nicest guy on the river.
There is there's a large group out there that we became friends with over the years that we basically remain in contact with via social media. We don't get to fish with those guys very often, but Fulner, you put a post out there. Hey, heading to Mancation in 2 days, and that kind of blew up there just with all the guys chiming in from years back who we used to hang out with and look forward to seeing on our get-togethers and whatnot. And my dad is going to join us on
Mickey
Saturday.
Finn, you
Mickey
bet.
Finn just turned 80. Had him out on the river today.
Whooped your ass, didn't he?
Huh?
He whooped your ass, didn't
Well, his flow went down. And I had to tell him. And then he's like, I can't catch a fish. So anyway, we're working on it. He's doing great. The fact that my dad at 80 years old is standing there alongside me, waders on, puts the backpack on, we hike into the river. We spend the morning on the river fishing.
Good stuff.
Right?
Good
Phenomenal stuff. And he's going to join us in the drift boat on Saturday. So looking forward to that. I don't know. What do you guys want to throw out there? I mean,
Well, I'd like to say that I would not want to miss this trip. And the ones that we have missed, I've felt very bad about. And I'm really thankful to have you guys back here. Thanks for making the trip.
Not a problem.
Because it means a lot.
I told you my water pump went out of my pickup in my driveway last night.
I know.
And he's still here.
Yeah. Going on.
I called Dwayne, I'm like, hey, this is going on, but
we'll be there.
We will be there.
Yeah.
Hey,
it
I
didn't
came a
matter.
whole 10 miles to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy's basically my neighbor now. It's kind of nice. Kind of nice. Fulner makes quite the drive from up north.
We all have a lot of stuff going on.
Family gets busy,
Yes.
man.
We have a lot of stuff going on. But
this is
it
our
was
time,
worth it.
man.
Yeah.
This is our time, brother.
Yeah. It was
It's only a couple days out of the year, but it makes such a difference.
One change, though. I didn't give him a bottle of Fireball to greet him this year. So that's why he's still sitting there.
That's
standing.
because we had this to do. Once
right.
this is done,
oh boy,
that cork's coming out of the bottle, the cap's coming off, whatever.
Well, I've got some lovely handmade single serve ice balls.
Oh, the ice balls.
Yes, my Corksicle ice balls.
Oh, right. Corsical ice balls. You going to show Goff your ice balls, Andy?
Sure, that wasn't Grinder. I've heard stories about aggressive men on camping trips. Cork sucking ice balls.
Yeah.
Barnum.
Cork sucking
on
ice balls.
vacation stays on vacation, all right?
Right. Except when you put it out there on the interweb, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Different year, same
Late
thing.
night chat rooms.
Yeah.
So you're headed to Newport tonight. You're running from us, aren't you?
Don't cross state lines, son.
Hey, it's 2019. You guys do what you want.
What happens at fish
Post some
camp?
pictures of some fish.
Be loud, be proud.
Jimbo, you hit it right on the head. This is one thing that we talk about for the better part of a year and look forward to, and you guys, don't get out and fish as much as, say, myself or, Andy's out chasing animals constantly with his Master Hunter cert and helping the state out with management and depredation. And, so he's pulling the trigger quite a bit. And he and I find ourselves texting quite a bit about, wild game and fish and those types of things. We all get so busy in life. I think you nailed it, buddy. I mean, this is one of those things where you go, okay, the date is what? And we got our chat group, like everybody else has their chat group, and we're like, okay, pin the dates down. Just throw the dates down and we'll be there. And I'm like, how about these dates? Yeah, I can't make it. Okay, how about these dates? Finally, we come together and make it happen, and everybody showed up. That is fantastic. And Shing, God bless her. She's a changed woman every time you guys leave, but it takes me about 6 months to reel her back in. But we get her there. So yeah,
props to her.
Yeah,
I mean, look what she greeted us with today.
Yeah,
as she always does.
Yeah, she
Still,
does.
I mean,
yep.
Hostess with the most.
She is phenomenal. Yeah.
Yep. She does a good job.
All right, closing words. We're going to bug out of here. Got anything else you want to add, Jim? That's legal and won't get us arrested or thrown off by the FCC?
I got nothing.
You better not say anything. Johnny Bitch?
Hey, thanks for having us on, man. This is awesome.
Let's go down avatars and names, first of all. Back in the day?
Fish Junkie.
Fish Junkie.
Love to fish.
I thought you were Dr. Love. Oh, love to fish on the board.
That's right.
Fish hog.
Fish hog?
Dogfish.
Yeah,
I wasn't on Grindr.
I wasn't on Grindr. Oh, classic. You know what concerns me, Barnum, is so much about Grindr. The side chat rooms and the little doors you go through or whatever, where you can buy apparently ice balls.
It's all new to us.
Yeah. I thought Grindr was what you throw meat into.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
What's that on your pickup? What's that? Backpage.com on your pickup?
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for us this week, Fish on Northwest. Appreciate you hanging in there. Hawks won. Fantastic news, and we made it through another show. And we will be back next week. Going to confirm later on in this week. Hopefully Julia Smith can join us so we can really delve into this wolf issue, Barnum. I think that is going to be a show that, for those that are concerned with the way the wolves are being managed and the direction it's going, that we are going to get it taken care of. Cedar. Anyway, we will be back next week right here at 7 o'clock. Follow us during the week on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Have a great week. Get out and catch some fish. We'll see you next Thursday.
Let's take the peanut butter.